this is Shalimar Steinberg, and today we are talking about block attributes, which is a way that we can add text identifying information to our blocks. So an attribute is a tag or label for blocks. You can use them to add any text that you want. So for example, they're often used to fill in the text in a title block or to create inventory and bill of material information for parts of a drawing. The reason that they're really nice is because you can then extract the information from them directly to tables in AutoCAD or to Excel, which allows you to make it really simple for your ordering person. There are some basic commands for attributes. So first you have to draw the thing that you want to be a block. Then you define or create the attributes that are going to be attached to that block, and then you create the block altogether, including the attributes, which you do have to click in the order that you want them to show up. Finally, when you insert the block, it's going to ask you for the default, if you want to use the default answers that you gave, or if you want to put in new answers. So the basic commands are attdef, which is defining an attribute, editing attributes, which is ate, displaying attributes, which is attribute display, or @display, extracting attributes, which is eatText. The extracting attributes actually have some really funny names. One of them is called Batman, then there's eatText, and there's ateText and stuff, so it's just the nice acronyms they gave them. So defining the attribute involves telling it a tag, which is kind of the basic nickname that you're giving to that attribute. So, for example, if I had a piece of furniture, I might say type was the tag that I gave it. So, like, what type of furniture is it? Then the prompt is going to be the question you want it to ask you so that you can give it an answer every time. And so I might say, what furniture is this? Or what type of furniture is this? And then my default answer is going to be the most common thing that I'm going to respond with, that I can just accept as automatic, but that I could change each time if I needed to. I have the option of choosing modes. The most common is to have it come in with the position locked. You can have it come in as invisible. So if you don't want people to see the attribute, but you want it to be there so that you can pull the information out into your tables, then you could have it come in as invisible. You can also choose the text justification and the style that you're going to use, whether it's annotative, the text height, and rotation that it might come in with. Once you've done one and you're doing a second one, you can also select this button down here, which says align below previous attribute definition, and that'll make them line up really nicely along the side. So creating the block, once you've made the attributes, you're going to start up the block command. You're going to select your objects, and then you're going to select the attributes individually in the order that you want them to appear. When you are asked for a block name, give it the name of the furniture item or other object item. Then when you insert that block, you'll get a dialog box that pops up that prompts you to enter the values for your default answers. Basically, do you want to accept that this is a chair, or do you want to change it to say table this time, or other item? It's usually if you have like a bunch of chairs that are different model names and you want to be able to tell it each time which model you're using that chair to represent in this current drawing. You'll be prompted to provide answers to the questions that you defined in the attributes. This is where it gets useful for filling in the text in a title block, because you can have it prompt you each time, what's the new file name, what's the drafter's name, what's the date, etc. And so it'll have you fill those in as you enter them. If you have errors or problems with your attributes or blocks, you can use the edit command, which we'll show you on the next page, and that'll let you go back in and edit them. So for edit, you can update attributes via the enhanced attribute editor, and you can update values, text options, and object properties like layer, color, and line type, etc. And so you can basically change what your attribute value answer is, and then the basic properties of it. So those are the main steps for attributes. So then I'm going to show you how those work in AutoCAD. So I'm going to draw a really basic object that I'm going to use as my block. So we'll say I've made like a little laptop here, right? And I'm going to be placing it on desks or whatever. So now is before I block it when I'm going to add my attributes. So I'm going to say the ATTDef, and it's going to ask me for my first tag. So I'm going to say model as my tag name. For tags, you can't have any spaces in whatever you put in there. It's just supposed to be a really brief, like 1 or 2 words that are smushed together. Then for my prompt, I'm going to put in what is the model of laptop? Question. Because that's a prompt. It's just supposed to remind me of what I'm filling in. And then my default is going to be whatever the main one I'm using for this project is. So maybe it's going to be a surface. And then I could say what the actual model number is. I'm just making one up here. And then I can choose the justification. I'm going to leave it at left. I'm going to change it to Arial. I'm going to leave my text height the same. Actually, I didn't even pay attention to what size I drew this, so this text type may turn out to be way too small. If it is, I can scale it up. And I'm going to leave the rotation fine. Then I'm going to choose where next to the object I want my text to appear. So I'm going to hover over just a little bit. And see if it came in. It did, but it's teeny tiny, so I need to scale it up. Okay, so that's an 1/8, so I'm probably going to scale it up by 16, I think. Okay, so that would make it 2 inches. Okay, scale. I said 16, right? Yes. Okay. And now it's a little more appropriate size. It's still not quite big enough, so I should actually do more. I'm going to delete it and redo it because it's easier than trying to figure out what scale I want to do it at. So I'm going to do a brief dimension here so I know approximately what size I'm going to need it to be. Really? Okay, yeah, I drew that a little big. So 472. Okay. So I'm going to do my ATTDef again. Model. So I probably could have done 25, but I'm just going to go with this now. Okay, then I would do another one. You can just do one, but for the purposes of this, I'm doing more than one. I'm also going to say, I could tell it the RAM. And I'll say for 4 gigs. Okay, and I'm going to click this little align below previous attribute, and it's got the same text height, so I'll say OK, and it just lines it up nicely for me below the other one. Now I'm going to go into the block command, and I'm going to name it laptop, and I'm going to specify the base point on screen when I select the objects, and then I'm going to tell it to convert it to block. I can give it a description if I want to. I'm going to select my objects. So I'm going to select the computer first, then the attributes, and hit enter. And I'm going to say scale uniformly and allow exploding when it comes out. Now I'm going to say OK, and choose the insertion base point. Okay, so now it's asking me what are my defaults for this, and this is a chance for me to edit those attributes if I want to. I'm happy with the ones that are there, so I'm going to say OK. Now I have this block available, and I can go in my drawing and I can say insert this block. And I'm going to look for it, and it's laptop, and it's going to give me all my options, and I'm going to say OK. And when I go to insert it, it's again going to ask me those questions, so I have the option to change it for each one that I bring in. So for example, if I'm the IT guy and I know what models I want ordered for the computers, and you're the drafter who's drawing up the office plan, I could give you the information, and you could then create the drawing with the right models for each person's desk, and then send that over to the ordering people, and they would order the models that we need based on the numbers that you give them. And the nice thing about it is you can even include hyperlinks, so you could actually send them right to the catalog page for the model that you wanted. So I'm going to accept the same thing again, and it comes in like this. And I could have pasted this anywhere in a drawing, basically. Okay, so that is how our attributes work.